Yes, so now, you see, in my mind, I stopped using nitrous oxide before this, and so I'm completely wrong. You know, it's not there.
That's why
Okay.
it's good that we do
Yeah,
these things
no,
now
I
before
know,
it
but what
disappears
I'm
completely.
surprised, because what I remember, he told me, you'll probably find it in her notes, when he said, no more with the nitrous oxide. It will be between that time and the end. Because if I'm still using nitrous then, I was certainly not using it after he was having the pain in his tooth.
I have to. I haven't read this. What we decided to print in the book. We took chronologically from May.
Yeah.
Until this.
So there will be a point there.
I have the other ones too, but they're on my laptop. They're not edited.
Okay, so what happened was, when he was having this terrible pain in his ear, this is 1989. You see, and as far as I remember...
And when this was finished, you remember it also?
This goes up to September 89, this dental session.
Okay.
But that includes when he sent it out, and they came back again?
Yeah.
So that was the time, maybe I'm getting those mixed up again. But that time, that whole sequence, I remember that whole sequence of many dental sessions was mainly around this terrible pain in his face. And this terrible pain in his face, which I had no idea what it was coming from. You know, the tooth was out, and the pain was getting worse and worse, and I was in contact with...
So that was a fast tooth that you took out?
No, I'd already told you that in Rajneeshpuram, the specialist and all of that. Now, this was the first one on the right side. I took this tooth out because of the terrible pain in his ear. Then that night he was dancing, and you know, and I'm looking, because he'd only had the tooth out 2 hours ago, and he was out there full energy. And the next night, full energy. And then the next night, again, full energy, but I got a message.
This was this video that you had with the 3 nights full of energy. That's what he's talking
Well,
about.
he was dancing every night. But this particular... The reason I say 3 nights, the first night was the night after I took the tooth out. I'm measuring it according to the surgery. The second night was the night after I took the tooth out. The third night, again, he's dancing, but then after that discourse, I got a message, he wants to see me. And we went in, we did a dental session, and the whole thing was open, and it looked horrible. And then that's when the whole sequence started, where... so that's what happened that night. After discourse, I get there somewhere around 9 o'clock, and I look in his mouth, all the stitches had gone, the bone is showing, it's packed with food, it looked horrible. And so I wash it out, clean it, and tell him. And then I scrape away, bring it back to what's called a bleeding surface, stitched it up again, and then put some antibiotic locally on the bone, and then left it. And then 2 hours later, I got a call, so it's now like close to midnight. I got a call saying, the pain is terrible. So I come back and I realize I need to do something more. So what I did was I chopped away what looked to be the infected bone, did a whole surgical procedure, and then again stitched it up, antibiotic in there. And again, 2 hours later, he called me and said, the pain is even worse.
When was exactly this time?
The time?
No, like September, October, what was?
I don't know.
You don't remember?
No, but it would be...
just to give some
in
frame.
his... Well, it's 89, and I think it's September, but I don't have that.
More or less, yeah. So then
It's the last, these were the last series of dental sessions I saw him. And then as I did this operation on him, not knowing how to, I didn't know what the cause of the pain was. And he is saying, you can do it, Devageet, but you're missing something. So I was in contact with Kavisha's dentist, who was an Israeli specialist in Los Angeles, Dr. Bahat. And each time I phoned him, telling him of what's happening with Osho, and he would give me these dreadful possibilities. it could be this, it could be that, he's going to need hospitalization, it could be rampant septicemia that was spread through his whole body. You know, every time I phoned him, I got freaked out.
What about Dr. Modi? Did you ask him?
No, he was not involved in this. The only reason I'm in touch with Dr. Bahat is that Avibhava, who was his Osho's caretaker at that time, Avibhava was very friendly with Dhyan Yogi, and Dhyan Yogi, you know, they formed a little cabal, him, Avibhava, and Kavisha, and they're like this. Now, as I'm working with Osho, Avibhava is his caretaker, and she's reporting everything to Yogi, who's reporting everything to Kavisha, and so it's all like this. And when it came back, what it came back is that we got a message, I think it was Avibhava who said it, I can't recall, why don't we call in a specialist from outside? And Osho said, we don't need a specialist from outside. Devageet can do it, but he's missing something. So I told him that I need to get some other information. I'm in contact with Kavisha's dentist. So that was all right, that wasn't a problem. So being in contact with his dentist didn't really solve anything, but it freaked me out. So there was one night where I was out, this dentist, Bahat, he was asking for Osho's whole medical history, right back to when he was a child, which we had.
And was on the phone, everything.
Yeah. And then I spent, you know, about 7 hours putting this fax together. It was about a 30-page fax. I sent it to him. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning. And Osho was still in all this pain in his bed. And then suddenly, as I fall into bed, I've just faxed off this huge fax. I get a knock on the door, Avibhava saying he wants a dental session. So like half asleep, I rush into the dental room. It's
What
pitch.
time is now?
4 in the morning. It's pitch black, and there are no windows in that dental room. There are mirrors, but no windows. So I rush in there to switch on the AC because he needs it to be cold so he can breathe easily. That, I don't know if that's in the notes, but when we moved into the new dental room with his new air conditioner that he specially wanted, it was so cold we all had to wear thick coats, thick socks, hats and gloves. He was under 3 great big thick blankets, and he had his hat on, you know, like it was like a great pile of fabric on this dental chair. It was so bizarre, I can't tell you, in this wonderful dental room. So at this particular time,
Do you know how cold it was?
What?
You don't know how cold?
No, but it was
freezing.
Oh, you know, coming out from Pune, where it was probably 38 degrees or something like that. You know, we had to wear this winter clothing. You know, so it was such a bizarre thing. Anyway, so it's 4 o'clock in the morning and it's pitch black, and I rushed in there just to switch on the AC, and then I'm going to call the dental team. And he's standing there in the middle of the dental room, pitch black. And I'm completely shocked. And he said, I was looking for the light. Looking for the light. And I said, it's over there. So I switched on the light and I brought him to the dental chair. I said, I'll just go and get the dental team now. He said, no, I've got something to tell you. And I said, well, I get the other people? He said, no, this is for you. And I said, well, shall I get a notebook? He said, no, you will remember. And he said, when I finished, you will put out a world press release. I had no idea what he was going to say, and that's when he gave me this Akashic, all I can call it is a transmission, because he gave me these incredible instructions. As the room got colder and colder, I'm there in my thin robe, and then when it was over, it took about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. It's there, the whole transmission. It's an amazing thing. I had no idea what he was saying when he's telling me that everybody's personal Akashic record is in their teeth and it can be accessed through the memories of their teeth. And this is of supreme importance to every meditator. And you will find a way, Devageet, to enable people to release the memories from their teeth. I can hear what he's saying. I've got no idea how to do that. It was like he's laying instructions. He didn't say how to do it. He said what I had to do. Meaning you find a way, Devageet, for people to release the memories from their bodies, from their teeth. And then he outlined it. He made it very clear. He said, the teeth, in a certain way, like the whole body, is a memory archive. It never forgets anything. And he said, the roots of our conditioning can be accessed through our teeth. He then did a little digression. He then said, I went back to speak to Buddha, I went back to speak to Mahavira, and he said, because the roots to the female conditioning, this is him saying it now, I always thought that Buddha and Mahavira were cowards in their own way. They didn't allow women into their Sangha. And he said, I went back and I asked them, why did they not allow women into their Sangha? And they said, because we had no way to deal with their conditioning. We had to wait 25 centuries for you to have the psychological tools to work with their conditioning. And he said, whenever a female disciple has a male master, he said the biological bondage always creates a problem because the woman is always asking to be loved by the master. Now there was a whole sequence of, must be in there, where he's telling Shunyo, why do you keep asking me, do you love me, do you love me? And there was a whole mass of stuff about that. And then in the end he told her to just stay out if you can. And she's not saying anything. She's just there meditating. And just the way it had been for me when he's telling me you were giggling, you were writing notes to Osho and all of that stuff. And he hammered and hammered. And then at that time he then started turning it to Anando. She was writing the notes. And then he would say, why are you tapping your pencil? Why do you want me to stop speaking? This is a typical woman. And suddenly he's hammering, and I'm just sitting there doing my dentistry. Now, at that point, that went on and it escalated and escalated until he told them not just to get out of the dental room, that would be one day. The next day he told them to get out of Lao Tzu house. The next day he told them to get out. I think she asked him, Anando asked him, do you want us to leave the ashram? And he said, yes. All of that will be there. My recall of that won't be so specific because he wasn't referring to me. Now, in that moment, as he's working on that all had to do with, when he was talking about the conditioning that can be accessed through the teeth, he was giving me a clear indication that by people recalling for themselves their own personal conditioning, they can release and transform their consciousness by releasing those memories. And he said, it's only by bringing your awareness beyond your biological bondage that your meditation can go to the place where authentic transformation can happen. He said, most meditators cannot go there because your biological bondage is the deepest biological program, the will to survive. Our identification with the body is 4 million years of evolution thick. And he said, then he gave me these numbers. He said, out of 1,000 people in Buddha Hall meditating every night, he said, sincere meditators, 1 is meditating. He said, out of 1,000 people who meditate, 1 may get enlightened. He said, out of 1,000 who get enlightened, he said, 1 may live. He said, when the impact of higher consciousness comes into an unprepared body, he said, it blows the fuses. There have been thousands of enlightened people, but we know nothing of them. They're under the ground. He said, the ones we do know, the masters, he said, they have had a particularly strong body. But he said, in reality, Buddha was not fully enlightened. He said his body still contained memories. That's why he was continuously sick. He said, until you can release the memories from the body, then the body cannot fully participate in your enlightenment.
Can you explain a little bit better what does it mean until you release fully the memory from the body?
The body contains memories where
in particular, you say before on the teeth. So what happens when you actually remove it?
Yes, well, those are the words he used. But what I found from the actual experience of them was that the memories are not in the teeth, they're associated with the teeth. So in the same way, for instance, with a Kirlian photograph, you can get a phantom limb picture. You can get a picture even though the hand is gone. In the same way, even when a tooth is gone, the memories associated with it are still available.
Okay.
You see, at that time I had 3 teeth missing, and the memories associated with those teeth were absolutely available, and I found that by working with myself. My mother has no teeth for most of her life. All her memories were still available, but they're associated with the teeth. They're not necessarily embodied in the teeth. I don't know the explanation how. I don't know whether it can be regarded as something like a machine and where you've got a hard disk. I think it's much more like the cloud, you know, where memories are in your energy field and they can be accessed through certain parts of your body, but it's not that they are in that body.
They can be accessed.
They can be accessed through the teeth, yes. And he said, and there are certain places where memories, certain memories, for instance, he said, the teeth can access the ancient-most memories from the beginning of evolution because they are mainly crystal. He said, crystals have the capacity to hold information. He said, in the center of your computer is a tiny piece of crystal which holds immense amounts of memory. He said, your teeth are virtually all crystal. And he said, your bones are also crystal. And of course, if you just follow that, you know, from physiology, this is me now, your body is a crystal phase structure, meaning you've only got to change the pressure and the temperature a little, your blood will crystallize. You know, like freezing, it will crystallize. That when you freeze water, that water has assumed a crystal phase. That water has a memory. Those crystals hold the memory. When the water is dissolved and it's no longer crystalline, the memory is still there, but it is more accessible when it's in a crystal phase, when it's solid. And it's the same, like in the body, the teeth, every single part of the body is really a crystal phase system where if you just change the temperature a little bit, it will crystallize. The body contains memories. And the memories, what Osho said about the memories is that these memories are part of the Akashic record. The teeth and your body contain the personal memories of your personal Akashic record through the whole of your evolutionary process. Now, he talked about biological bondage. You need to go through your biological bondage in order for meditation to go deeper. Now, he didn't go on to say that by releasing the memories in the teeth, you can go beyond your biological bondage, you can go into the cosmic unconscious. First of all, in your psychological and emotional memories, this is the basic conditioning. This life's conditioning and past life. This is the thinnest layer. Then comes your biological conditioning, which is immense through all those 4 million years of biological development. And then, but he made it clear, he said, evolution is not the evolution of the body, it's the evolution of consciousness. He said Darwin got the insight right, but because he was Christian, he thought it was to do with the body. He said it has nothing to do with the body. The East has known this for many years, but he said it's never been known that you can access the memories of evolution through the body and through the teeth. He said it's never been written anywhere. You will find a way, Devageet. So this is...
Before you says, I remember also heard him say that a few times that out of 1,000 people, one person is...
I'd never heard that until that night. Yeah.
Yeah. But he said in some
well, I'd never heard that. But he didn't finish there. He said, out of 1,000 people who get enlightened, one may live because the impact of higher
Strong.
consciousness on the body blows the fuses.
But you were telling me some days ago that actually many enlightened people, Ramakrishna and all these people, they actually were also very sick after enlightenment.
But that's the point.
Yeah.
That's exactly the point he was making. And then he went on to say, out of 1,000 who do live, he said, one may speak. Because how to find the words to express the immensity of the transformation that's happened? And he said, and who can listen anyway? He said, out of 1,000 who do speak, he said, one may have been trained through many lifetimes to be a master. As a result of that, I've understood that by releasing the memory, then he went on to say, by releasing the memories in the teeth and the body, two things will happen. One, you will strengthen the body in a systematic way so that when higher consciousness comes, it will not suffer. And the second, it will enable the meditation to go to the place where authentic transformation can happen. You see, those two things are together. You can get enlightened accidentally. It has happened. People usually die. You see, what Osho talked about with Krishnamurti is that when his brother died or committed suicide, I think Krishnamurti was about 17 at the time, and his brother was the one that was being educated to be the
Maitreya.
The next master. And J.
Was all too much for
Krishnamurti was, he loved his brother. And between them, they hated these teachers that were hammering them every day. And that may have been the shock that whatever this is, this calamity. The Dutchman. He was, I thought he was Dutch. This is Ramatirtha's guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ramatirtha, Bide, Chidananda, many sannyasi went there. He was from India. But anyway, now that you tell this story, I'll go 1 second away. So many sannyasi are dying lately here and there. Sometimes I wonder, that, what we see that they're just dying can also be what you just say, that they, no.
You don't have to die.
No, but what I mean...
People are dying all the time.
Yeah.
And the sannyasins who have not lived a life of meditation, who have not worked on their consciousness, are no different from anybody else. They would die.
Yeah.
And between the age of 65 and 75, people die.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing. People are dying. It's not because they're enlightened. That'll be another bloody story. All our sannyasins are dying enlightened. That's not true. No, absolutely.
No, I don't think that.
To the other book from Osho, the first Buddha of the dental chair.
Yes.
Like, how was that born?
Yes. Well, that happened after my poetry night. The next day I had a session with Osho, and I can only guess that he'd heard that I wrote poetry too. And he said, I want you to write a book. It will be called Bhagwan, the first Buddha in the dentist chair, a music anecdotes by his personal dentist. And he said, you will write it. That's how it happened in the dentist. Yeah. It was simple.
I like these seniors moments, jumping from left to right. No, but I like all the story of the Buddha. I didn't say that people die and become enlightened, but I just say that sometime, though, I don't know when and who, what you say before, that the energy is so strong.
Who knows?
That,
but you would never know.
No, we don't never know. No.
Yes.
I know, though, that when he actually died and come back 24 hours later, he didn't know the 24-hour moment, when he actually opened his eyes, and I was there, and Chaitanya was there, he looked completely like
Yeah, but there was no
Yes, but that doesn't mean enlightenment.
No, I don't know what it
You
was,
know.
but it looked like it came from a
Yeah,
big trip, let's say.
he'd come from a place where he was already going in this direction, and suddenly he was in this direction.
Yeah, something like that, very strange. No, but it looked like you came from, let's say, from far
Yeah, but
away.
you've got to be careful you don't
I
project.
never say word enlightened.
surgery, heart surgery and everything, and you come back, you will not look like freshly coming out of the shower.
Yes, exactly. See, I once did a session with a woman who had been in coma for 20 days,
What?
right? And she came to me and she said, I want to know what happened to me in coma. And so I put her in trance, and we went back to the moment when she was hit. She was on a bicycle in Germany and she got hit by a car, and then she went back, and then she saw herself coming out of her body, and then she was suddenly in this place that she loved, and she's surrounded by people that were friendly and loving and beautiful. It was a typical out-of-the-body bardo experience. And then she said, I was there. I didn't know how long it was. And she's just saying she was there. And then she suddenly heard the voice calling her, saying, your work is not yet finished. And then she felt herself pulled back as if it was some kind of magnetic attraction, is how she described it. And she came back and she was crying. She didn't want to come back. She wanted to stay in that beautiful place. And then she changed her life completely. She'd been some kind of IT person, and she became a nun. Not a Catholic nun, a Hindu nun. When she came to me, she had a sannyas name. I thought she was a sannyasin because her name was something like Jagruti. I made the assumption she was a sannyasin. She wasn't. She was a Hindu nun. And that, in a certain way, shocked me. But her life had changed because of that death experience, and that's, if you read the stories of near-death experiences, it happens with many people. It happened with the guy who went up in the, on this rocket, what's his name? Ed, the American astronaut. It changed his life completely.
There are many stuff. But let's come back to your book situation. So then you say, for a moment you didn't remember all the stuff, but then when was it all the teeth of Osho start to go away, for example? That's interesting.
Well, it's not they didn't start to go away.
Yeah, you took it off.
I mean, this was for me the moment. Well, this was the time when Osho had been suffering with such intense pain, saying, Devageet,
can you give some dates, more or less?
This must have been September 1989.
Okay.
Maybe a little before. But the pain was intense. I didn't know what to do. He's telling me, you're missing something. Every day we're taking blood, we're taking it down to we, meaning me, I'm going down to the pathology laboratories to see if there's some underlying infection. I didn't realize that each laboratory can give different readings. So the first time we got these...
Sorry, but at that point you never thought it could be from the thallium poisoning?
The teeth pain, the pain was not from this. Okay. What was happening when his gums are open and the food is packed in and the bone is showing, that's not from thallium poisoning. Thallium poisoning can affect the neurological system, but that was a local situation that could spread easily into a general situation. It was a dental situation. And so at that point, as I'm trying to find, why isn't he healing? He had healed brilliantly before that. Why wasn't he healing? And then each day I'm going down and I found that the pathology lab, one lab would say this, one lab would say that. So each day I'd go to 3 laboratories and take an average of the 3, and then Amrito and I would work with that. So after about, he'd been suffering with pain, intense pain. And I'd been seeing him 2-3 times a day for maybe, must be 2 weeks, but I don't have a clear time sequencing because I'd be called in the day, in the night, I don't have a clear time sequencing of that. And then one day I had this brainwave. I thought, well, what happens if the pain is not from where we took the tooth out? Maybe it's from somewhere else. So I then looked carefully at the x-rays, and the tooth in front of where I'd taken the tooth out, there was something there which I thought, this could be an acute inflammatory situation which is causing the pain. So I came back to Osho and said, it's possible the pain is not from this, but it's from the tooth in front. And then he asked me, what does that mean? And I said, it means the only way I can find out is to open it up and have a look. And I said, if I do that, I'm going to need to do a root canal on the tooth. He said, my time is now. Do it. So again...
I love when he says, my time is now.
So then I open the tooth in front, take the top of it, go into the root. Now it had 3 root canals, each one as thick as a hair, and well, it's complicated, but one of those roots showed signs of abscess formation. I was so happy to have found the cause of his pain. Wow, I told him, and he said, you do the root canal. So it took me 5 hours to do this root canal. It was the best root canal I'd ever done in my life. It was impeccable, because the roots...
5 hours is a lot.
What?
5 hours is a
5
lot.
hours to go through that. It's a complicated business, and each one is as thin as a hair. They were twisted and turned. Anyway, 5 hours. At the end of it, I was so happy. I took the X-ray. It was brilliant. I rushed down to see Dr. Modi and show him this X-ray. Wow, this is brilliant. I come back to the ashram. About 2 hours later, it's now 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, and I get a message. He wants a dental session, and he says, 80% of the pain has gone, Devageet. 20% remains. And I'm over the moon, and I'm saying, well, if 80% is gone in 5 hours, tomorrow it will all be gone. And he said, if it hasn't, it's a wonderful root canal. 80% of the pain has gone. 20% remains. And Dr. Modi said, yes, but by tomorrow, that will be gone. And he said, and if it hasn't?
He continued.
He just continued. So I said, if it hasn't, he said, will. But it will have. He said, if it hasn't. And then we go through the whole thing again. It's like a rerun in my head. And then finally, Dr. Modi is in a complete meltdown, and he said, I can't. I've got a world reputation. You're a world-renowned man. Osho said, I will write you a letter absolving you from all... Absolutely, but upgraded a little. Sannyasin, he wasn't a sannyasin. So at this point, he said, well, I can't take your tooth out now because I don't have my dental instruments. Osho said, Devageet has every dental instrument possible. Which was true. He said, you take my tooth out. Devageet will give you the instruments. So at this point, I give him the syringe to give him the injection, right? His hand is shaking. He can't. He puts the needle on Osho's tooth. It's like a Spanish dancer's castanet. He's shaking. So Osho turns to me and says, you give me the injection, Devageet. So I gave him the injection. We wait 3-4 minutes. The injection is fine. Modi comes along, carefully takes the tooth out, and there it is, brilliant piece of root canal therapy. And then Osho turns to me, he said, now you take this tooth out. Another tooth, nothing to do with anything, which I did. The next day...
How come you did this one without saying anything?
What?
How come that one you did it
So
without...
ask God.
So,
that was finished.
okay.
There was no question anymore. He wanted this tooth out, I will do it. I took the tooth out. The next morning, he called for a dental session. He said, the pain has almost gone completely, Devageet. I only get pain when Nivadano plays his drums. He said, now you take these 2 teeth out. Which I did.
Wait. 1, 2, and 2 more.
That evening, he called me again. He said, Devageet...
And you did this too without saying a bit, nothing?
That evening, he called me again. He said, the pain is almost completely gone, Devageet. Take out these 2 teeth.
6.
1 the first time, 2 with Modi, that's 3. Then there's 2 that next morning is 5. Then there's another 2 is 7.
7.
Right? I said, but you won't be able to eat on this side.
But at this point, you were just doing and not questioning.
I just did it.
Okay.
And then he said, I will never eat solid food again. I didn't realize until later. He was telling me he's leaving his body.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Michael knew in the notes here, 7 months before Osho died.
9 months.
So 9 months before, Osho said something to her, indicating exactly the 9 months that he's going to die.
Yes, but going to die and when you're going to
Yeah.
die is different.
Yeah. Wait.
No,
He
when?
said something.
Well, let me just continue and then...
Okay, 7.
But
yeah.
anyway, I just wanted to say, he knew.
He knew.
He knew, that's why he set up the inner circle, that's why he said it
Yeah.
all. He knew, of course he knew.
So 7
So
to...
we're on 70th. And I'm telling him, you will never be able to eat on this side. He said, I will never eat solid food again. And then I'm beginning to realize that this is more than just taking teeth out. The next morning, again, he said, now you take out these 2 teeth, 9 teeth altogether. And he then said, as I took these teeth out, and I then have to see him all the time because these things takes time to heal. So as I was working with him, sometimes twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day, sometime over those next days, and I don't have a clear recollection of which day and which time, he said, Devageet, do you know the Om sign?